Hello, everyone. So I hope you hear me well. My name is Quentin Farvel. I recently defended my PhD related to ceramic technology and Bell Beaker in northwestern France. So in this communication, I will mainly talk about the plausible relationship between Bell Beaker decorative style and weaving techniques on the Atlantic shore. So I will split this presentation in three parts. The first one is related to the state of the art, very briefly, of the Bell Beaker knowledge in northwestern France. The second is related to the concept of skeuomorphism that you might have heard of, and the theory that there might be a relationship between ceramics and textile during this period. And the last part will be relating to the few evidence that we have to back up this claim. So in northwestern France, so Normandy, Brittany, and Pays de la Loire, we have something like almost 600 Bell Beaker sites today, and a bit more than 4,000 Beaker vessels. So I built a new typo-chronology for the Bell Beakers, and I did a technological analysis. I defined three different groups for Bell Beakers. One is called the Normandy group. The other one is the Lower Brittany, and the last one is the Midwestern group. And all together, they fall into a broader group that I call the Western Beaker complex, where the decoration are really, really simple. It's just horizontal bands. We don't have vertical bands like those found in Southern Europe. And we don't have the method decoration found in Central Europe, for example. So this fall in line with the theory of Mark van der Linden, if you have heard about it. So I just shown the middle stage here. So when working on all of those beakers, I noticed that there were evidence of copy. So between different decorative styles. So it might be copy of beaker and late Neolithic pottery. And when I say late Neolithic, it might be decorated ceramics or the coarse and thick ceramics that we call the commonware. So everything is possible indeed. So we have evidence, for example, in Portugal, João Cardoso shown an evidence of a beaker rim with an acacia leaf decoration. But in France, we also have evidence of Artenac cup with a beaker decoration. The Artenac culture is a late Neolithic culture in Midwestern France. In southern France, they have a beaker with a framboise decoration, which is another late Neolithic culture. In northwestern France now, we have a commonware with a horizontal cordon under the rim, and we also have beaker with horizontal cordon. So there is exchange of influence, and it's not always the influence of beakers on late Neolithic culture. It can be the reverse as well. And on the other hand, we also have influence of different Bell Beaker groups. So, for example, we have many ways to bridge the maritime and the AOC beakers. We have the so-called mixed style. So you have a beaker with a printed shell or comb and cord decoration. So on the right, I'm just showing some of the evidence that we have. You can see that we can go to the maritime linear, to the linear, and then to the AOC beaker. And in each step, we add or we remove one of the decoration or decoration technique, for example. So based on this evidence on typo-technological data, we have the classic beaker, for example, the maritime beaker of La Roche, which has a shape of a maritime beaker and the decoration, so everything is fine. And then we have the so-called false AOC from Kerbourse, which has a maritime shape fabric, but the decoration is AOC. So as you can see, the printed horizontal cord. And on the other hand, we have likely the reverse situation in the Netherlands. So I chose what we might call some kind of false maritime, if it makes sense, which means an AOC beaker, tall, narrow beaker, but the decoration is hatchet band printed with a shell. So we have all of those situations now. So in my PhD, I defended the idea that the technical style, so it's the core of the tradition made by the potters. So it's a building technique. It's a surface treatment, the firing process, and so on. And then there is what we call the decorative style, which is much more labile, easy to copy. Potters can always talks between each other. And aside from all of this, we also have some evidence of apprenticeship, or we even have a commonwear beaker, for example. So the situation is more and more complex. So now for the second part, the hypothesis of skeuomorphism was very interesting in my ID because one of the problems related to the Bell Beaker is that we don't really know where the hatchet band come from and the decoration techniques, the printing shell. There have been obviously several theories about this subject. So when I talk about skeuomorphism, I don't know if everything is aware of the concept. I assume most of you already know this, but one of the most renowned example is the Greek temple. So the stone temple keeps some of the feature of the wooden temple, even though it wasn't really useful anymore. And this is something that is very well known on ceramic as well. So there's plenty of evidence of this. And when related to the Bell Beaker, we already have work on the subject. So Louis Surratt since the beginning of the 20th century, and more recently Elisa Guerra-Doce, especially with the hypothesis of salt basket, for example. So in this case, I will focus especially on the, as I said, the decorative style. So the horizontal band, the hatchet band, the printing with the shell. So it's not mutually exclusive with the previous hypothesis. And I'm still wondering if this influence comes from basketry or weaving, for example. It might be both. I really have no strong opinion right now on the subject. So what do we know today? Well, I've read several papers about the clay tablet found in southwestern Iberian Peninsula. There is very plenty of them, different shape. Some of them undecorated, some of them decorated. And you might see that it's not exactly the same frequency depending on the place. There is some square clay tablet in the area of Lisbon, a rectangular shape in the other places as well, crescent shape sometimes. So very interesting object. And it was stated already that they might be used for tablet or card weavings. So there is an experimental clay tablet within the exact project. They have video on YouTube. You can watch this. Very interesting. They show exactly how it's made. So there is no evidence recently of loom-woven textile with flax in the late 4th millennium in a recent paper by Gleba and Ali. And we know that the end product might be, so it's not the only product, I think, but it's notorious that you can produce strips of or bands for various functions with this kind of tool. So we can do border of clothes, strap, belt, headband, for example. And when you look at the result, you see that it's really, in my opinion, it reminds me of the decoration that we have on plenty of Bell Beakers. And so, the idea is that does the decorative style found on Bell Beaker is a case of skeuomorphism, and more especially, does it come from the development of tablet weaving, for example, or is related to tablet weaving? So, especially, I'd like to point to the fact that, in my opinion, the use of toothed tools, for example, the shell with many little teeth, can remind the aspect of the textile. For example, I choose to illustrate this with a bag of the basket maker culture. The basket maker culture is a culture of the United States, found in the Four Corner area. So in Southwest United States, it's a desertic place, and that's why they have so many textile preserved. So it's really interesting in this topic. And well, when you look at the decoration, you can find they were able to craft their bag and to add some decoration in horizontal bands, for example. So it's plausible to do something like this. And it reminded me, of course, on some of the beaker I've been working on in the northwest of France. And well, to conclude, I just put some more example of basket metal bag. So they made some basketry and they also twinned some bags. And some of them, they do have the decoration and I think a bit of the shape of the classic beaker. So doesn't come from nowhere, I think, but I hope it's raised some question today. So thank you very much.